Hey everyone, welcome back to another driving review here on the channel. You joined me in the 2025 Chevy Equinox RS all-wheel drive that I've been driving over the last 6 days or so, and definitely have some mixed impressions on this vehicle, but make sure you guys check out some of the additional content if you guys want a little bit more specifics outside of my usual driving review video. Now, starting out as usual with my acceleration test. Unfortunately, there's no sport mode, so just foot down. And we're up to speed. So under the hood, you're going to find the 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that also underpinned the last iteration of the Equinox, producing 175 horsepower and 203 pound-feet of torque, specifically with the 8-speed automatic and all-wheel drive. If you opt for the front-wheel drive CVT configurations, that will be down a little bit on torque as you are benefiting from the 8-speed, but overall horsepower will remain the same at 175. And as you guys could tell from my facial impression, it's not impressive whatsoever. Now, I think this is one of the biggest complaints I have with the Equinox is the discontinuation of the 2-liter turbo, and of course, you know, if you go farther back, even the 1.6-liter turbo diesel that was offered, and only offering one powertrain configuration, that is this 1.5-liter turbo, which is really not that impressive in terms of its performance, and I would say not that impressive in terms of fuel economy either. But specifically when it comes to power, it's going to be very, adequate for the average daily commute and maybe for the average person out there. But specifically, if you're looking for a more performance-oriented, quicker accelerating vehicle, the Equinox is definitely not going to be the one that's going to be top on your list. Now, moving on to visibility, the Equinox does very, very well, specifically the way that this one is equipped. So with this new design language, you have a slightly more aggressive, beefier overall stance, I would say, on the exterior, and that does translate a little bit here on the interior in terms of your outward visibility. So looking over the hood, you can see the hood a little bit, and specifically the haunches on the two sides of the vehicle where it does meet the fender, but it slopes down reasonably well, and I don't have any issues with forward visibility. Side visibility is pretty good also, with adequately sized side mirrors. They're not the largest out there, they're not the smallest either. I think they're perfectly acceptable for a vehicle of this size. And then looking over your shoulder towards the C-pillar, this is going to be one area where there is maybe just a little bit of a small blind spot where the door opening before that rear quarter cargo glass area does start. But overall, it's not going to be an issue, likely, with the blind spot detection that is going to be standard. And then rearward visibility with the digital rear camera mirror that this one is equipped with makes rearward visibility not an issue. And then even looking out of the glass itself, it's going to be, plenty large for the average person. But taking it around that corner there, handling's actually not that bad in terms of this vehicle. And this is actually something that does impress me about the Equinox, is going to be the ride quality, both in terms of handling as well as, traditional dampening, spring rate, things like that, but also going to be the NVH, or I should say lack of, noise, vibration, harshness that translates into the cabin. Now, the thing about the ride quality is it's very compliant, very soft. It does a great job dampening, broken pavement or, larger bumps out on the road, which I will discuss here in a second once we get up to the section of road that I like to touch on. But in terms of, how this vehicle feels behind the wheel, it has this sense of, heft, weight, more in terms of the quality side of things, and it doesn't feel cheap by any means. And this starts from even opening and closing the doors. They have a good amount of weight to them, which, gives you the sense of quality. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a quality, but that feels the same as when you're driving down the road. It just feels like it's planted, it's rigid, and there's really no complaints that I have in terms of the ride quality and how this vehicle handles. Now, of course, powertrain, not going to be the fastest accelerating, and I think that is something that is a drawback. But in terms of how, the vehicle actually drives on the road, it's very, very good, and I think it's one of the standout amenities of the Equinox. Now, the one NVH item that I have a complaint about specifically here on maybe this vehicle and or maybe Equinoxes in general is here on the driver's side, it feels like wind is passing through one of the rubber door seals at higher speeds, specifically above 55 miles an hour or so, and you hear that inside of the cabin. Now, again, that could be just a quality issue with this particular vehicle that I'm driving, but it also could be a design issue with how the Equinox and how the seals are done on the doors. But outside of that, tire noise is relatively low, road noise is relatively low, and it's a fairly peaceful, well-refined experience behind the wheel. And once you start to pair that with the revised seats, which, as I mentioned in my likes and dislikes, is a highlight except for the headrest, I think for the average person, as long as you can get comfortable with the seats, it's going to be a very nice experience to drive, as long as you're not pushing it too hard in terms of the power delivery and that powertrain, because obviously you're not going to be going 0 to 60 all that fast, but it's reasonable, it's adequate, and I think it does things that traditional General Motors or Equinox owners would find very, very pleasing, very, very acceptable. And that's something that I really have noticed and liked about it over the last 6 days. Now here we are heading over my bumpy section of roadway, and again, it just absorbs the bumps very well. And it almost somewhat brings a smile to your face, because you're like, wow, there's nothing that's wrong about how this vehicle rides or how it handles these bumps, because it's so comfortable. So in terms of a daily commuter, I could totally see this being, near the top of the list in the compact mainstream SUV class. But there is going to be some stiff competition in this class, because there are other vehicles that do these things very well, or well enough that maybe they have certain trade-offs and amenities that one might be a little bit more appealing than the Equinox. But then I think the Equinox is not going to be a bad option. It just might not be the best or be the most well-rounded in all aspects. So moving on to some of the interior features, and that makes a well-rounded vehicle. Of course, this has GM's and Chevy's latest technology with the 11-inch digital gauge cluster. You have the roughly 11.4-inch digital infotainment system with Google integration. So you have Google Maps, Play Store, Amazon Alexa, and all the usual stuff that we've been seeing in GM stuff over the last 2 years or so, depending on the model. Now, I like that it has wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and it's dead reliable wireless Android Auto as well. Never once had a hiccup, so they do that extremely well. And with that digital cluster and all the customization that you can do, you can actually put the built-in Google Maps or your Android Auto Google Maps in the actual digital cluster. So you can have audio over here on the main screen, your Google Maps up here on the actual digital cluster itself. And that was weird. The vehicle didn't give me any sort of beeping indication from that car pulling out, but maybe I wasn't technically close enough. But the technology inside this vehicle, I can tell GM has started to work on software improvements, but I would say it's not totally glitch and bug free. Specifically, the issue I've been running into with the automatic climate control. So if you have it on the low automatic fan speed, you open up the climate menu on the infotainment system, it shows the fan speeds pegged all the way at high, despite it being, basically just below medium in the actual, fan speed that it's running. So that's just one bug I've had. There are some other ones, here and there in the way that certain, menus pop up and things like that. So I think GM still has a ways to go in terms of fully dialing in the technology and that they're offering in their latest generation of vehicles. But I think it is a solid and noticeable improvement over what has been offered, say, in vehicles that launch with it, like Blazer EV, Silverado EV, etc. So I'm glad that things appear to be at least getting a little bit better with time. But you have very nice creature comforts. The space inside the cabin's good. Material usage is decent, although I will say it's not, I wouldn't say class leading by any means, but you have soft touch on the door panels, nice red accents for the RS. Of course, the Active will have different colors. And then the door panels, I think on all four doors, are very nice in the padded armrest. And the center console layout's very good. I like the wireless charging pad and the way that it is angled here in the middle of the console. And the seats themselves look aesthetically pleasing, but like I said, they're also going to be more on the comfortable side of things, as long as you don't have an issue with the headrest like I do. So interior in this vehicle is very good, but there are going to be some things missing, specifically like the fact that there is no premium audio system offered in Equinox. So at a near $40,000 price point, there's no availability of premium audio at all, and this 6-speaker bass system actually sounds quite poor, and it's, I would say extremely disappointing for a vehicle in this segment to not offer a premium audio system like it did over the last, several years of Equinox. I don't understand GM's rationality when it comes to those decisions, things that have been traditional options and somewhat expected in a vehicle at a given price point that are no longer being offered, with those options in this current latest version. So do keep that in mind. There's some interesting packaging and choices by General Motors. No Super Cruise availability, which we'll be testing out the driver assistance here, as we get on the interstate. But overall, pretty solid packaging. This one doesn't have the optional panoramic sunroof, but that is available if you do want it. Now, here we are going in onto the interstate, giving it a little bit of throttle. 8-speed does a good job of downshifting, but acceleration's not that good at all. Handling, it's holding its own here at 63 miles an hour. I mean, it gets up and goes. It's just not impressive whatsoever. But that aside, we'll go ahead and activate the cruise control. Go ahead and set it here at the given speed limit. And this vehicle is equipped with GM's standard driver assistance, as I like to call it. So it does come with adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, no lane centering, so it just has the more ping pong type of driver assistance, forward collision avoidance, blind spot detection. That's all going to be found on this vehicle, and you can choose from the different gaps it has available. As you can see, the semi-truck in front of us, we are slowing down with the farthest distance gap that the Equinox has, and it mainly relies on this camera system behind the digital rear camera mirror to do a lot of the driver assistance technologies. But I think, again, this is one of those aspects that the competition is offering lane centering and slightly more advanced driver assistance technologies inside of their vehicles. And unfortunately, Chevy and General Motors is not offering that unless you get Super Cruise, which I think is one of their standout features inside of a lot of their newer vehicles that do offer Super Cruise as an option. So if you want Super Cruise, not available on Equinox, you have to step up to the gas Traverse, Silverado, Tahoe, or you can get that in Equinox EV or Blazer EV now for 2025 model year. So the driver assistance works fine. It's kind of to be expected from General Motors over the last several years. And you can alternate between regular cruise control and adaptive cruise control by holding, I believe, the cruise control on button, which is a nice feature. Not every vehicle out there allows you to alternate adaptive to regular cruise, but you can do that here inside of this vehicle. So I guess my overall impressions of this vehicle is an interesting one because it has a lot going for it. I really do like a lot about it. But like I said, there's some interesting design choices from General Motors that make it somewhat disappointing in other regards because either it's just not offered as a feature, they've taken it away as a feature over the previous generation or iteration of the Equinox, and it leads me to want more for the money that I am spending inside of this vehicle. Now, as equipped, this one comes in right around the $38,000 price point without the panoramic sunroof, but if you do check that option, it will push it to just under $40,000, including all-wheel drive. And in terms of some of the competition out there, there is going to be some stiff competition once you hit that $40,000 price point. There's another Equinox RS, very sharp looking. There are competitors out there in the compact space that offer not only hybrid powertrains, more powerful turbo powertrains, more advanced driver assistance technologies, maybe a handful of different features and options, including premium audio system, heads-up display, not available on Equinox, that is found in some of the competition, for either the exact same price point or just $1,000 to $2,000 more. So yeah, I think that is kind of where I am at with the Equinox. I didn't have a bad experience. Now, I will say, I don't think MPG is going to be all that great in terms of observed MPG. Now, I've done fully, in-town type of driving with this vehicle, so it's not representative of what this vehicle is, capable of getting in terms of fuel economy, either on the interstate or just, not idling, where I do a lot of my filming and whatnot. So it's been saying I've been getting a 19 MPG, which I've been using the two-wheel drive, front-wheel drive only format this entire time also. So take that for what it's worth, basically, is what I'm saying. Probably not representative, but low 20 MPGs is probably to be expected. Putzing around town, and then, of course, you can get into the mid, possibly upper 20 MPG range if you're cruising at, 65, 70 miles an hour, maybe out on the interstate. So, yeah, overall, I've been, reasonably happy with the Equinox. I would like to see, a few features, amenities either return or, be optional. But yeah, I would definitely recommend taking a look at one. It has a good, very spacious interior, very comfortable ride quality, great to drive on a daily basis. The headlight performance is okay, not the best out there. It does have LED fog lights, which not every vehicle with headlight setup in this vehicle does have. Safety alert seat, which did actually vibrate and alert me that there is oncoming traffic or vehicles around. That is a feature that you won't find in a lot of the competition. But it's kind of, I would say, just, middle of the road, and not my favorite out there, but definitely not going to be the worst either. So I think I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my quick driving review and driving impressions of the 2025 Chevy Equinox RS, fully loaded, minus the panoramic power sunroof. Let me know your comments and opinions on this vehicle down in the comment section below. And as always, check out some of the dedicated likes and dislikes I have on this vehicle, as well as walk-around tours and comparisons that will be hopefully coming up with the Equinox versus that of some of the competition. I want to give a huge thanks to Chevy for sending this vehicle out for me to test and review for a week. Certainly gives me a better understanding of how this vehicle truly is to live with on a daily basis. I love the styling. I think it does things very well, and I don't think anybody would be dissatisfied if they were to purchase one of these for the money that they are spending. Just have to keep in mind that there is no hybrid, no more powerful powertrain, and a few things missing here and there that will be found on the competition. But with all that being said, once again, I appreciate continued support here on the channel. Make sure you use that Amazon affiliate link down in the description of every single video for your Black Friday shopping needs. I get a very small referral bonus when you guys click on that link and then make a purchase on Amazon, and it does help support the channel in every way possible. So I really do appreciate you guys just watching and doing everything you can to support me, because at the end of the day, it gives me these continued opportunities to review these cars and give you my actual honest impressions as to how they are to live with. So like I said, comment down below whether you have purchased one, you have a last generation Equinox, or what you like and or dislike about it. And as always, I hope to see you guys in the next one.